Our scene takes place in a small English town in the year of our Lord, 1255. There has been an epidemic of stillborn children over the past months. While its cause remains unknown, the bereaved only grow in number. Today, justice will be sought, but will it be found?
So, Rachel, how is farm this season?
It's just fine, I suppose. We're hard at work with the harvest.
Oh, how does it look this year?
Worse than some of our better harvests, but by no means terrible.
Truly, the Lord is good. None of us can afford another bad harvest.
Heather, you seem upset. What is troubling you?
My husband has fallen ill.
May the Lord grant him a swift recovery.
What a trial this year has been on you and your family.
Why has the Lord forsaken us so? What sin still plagues us? I fear that the demon which took our firstborn may still claw at our health. Why does God test us so?
There is no doubt that He's been testing us all. Bad harvests and several mothers giving stillbirth. As a matter of fact, Elizabeth just lost the Jones child today.
Elizabeth? Elizabeth Thornbill? She was my midwife, too.
She was? That is odd. I've heard that she hasn't had much success.
Really? I haven't heard anything of the kind.
Speaking of Elizabeth, isn't that her apprentice?
It is. You'll have to excuse me. I do not wish to be around the woman who was part of my baby's death.
Good morning. Where's Heather off to?
Good morning, Mary. She had some errands to tend to. Has the Johnson baby come yet?
It did not make it. Elizabeth works so hard and cares so much. If only I could be of more help, maybe more would have made it.
Certainly she's been having very bad luck with her deliveries. 8 children have passed in just 2 months.
Do you really think it's just bad luck? Perhaps there's something else at work.
What are you implying, Jessica?
Nothing. A witch. Only a witch could do such a thing. I'm simply saying it's not impossible.
She is no witch, I assure you of that. I've been at most of the deliveries myself. She's the best midwife in town. The mothers just haven't been as strong as of late.
Something else could have happened when you weren't there.
Oh, you and your women and your gossip. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to deliver this water to Father Burns.
What did you say, Elizabeth Thornbill?
Her deliveries seem to be of little success as of late. Didn't you participate in the birth of your child?
I, Elizabeth, was our midwife. Claire was of great health, and the birth of our sons, John and Paul, were of no great consequence. Just days before her passing in childbirth, she was still working around the house. I don't understand why God has taken her from me.
The Lord can work great good through terrible evil, Joe. Don't forget this.
Truly, but what was the earthly agent of such evil, and to what purpose was this evil done? Claire was a wonderful mother and Christian, devout and nurturing.
Then if not by sickness or weakness, then how could she have passed? Unless Elizabeth is really a witch.
A witch? Elizabeth has been delivering children for years. She helped bring John and Paul into the world.
And she helped take Claire and your stillborn son out.
2 more children passed this week, too. She must be stopped. I must stop her.
So what you try to say is true, then?
It is exactly as I have said, my lord. If you had been there, they would have told you the same. And if you had seen it, you would have seen it as they had.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. You neglected to tell the judge the rather amusing part about the bird's nest.
I wish we too had been spared such a description. This is of little importance. Heresy and dissent are on the rise, Judge Butcher. It's only a matter of time before such troubles come to our town.
And the witches threaten that stability as well. Not just of the town, but of the souls of our flock.
There hasn't been a witch in our town for, well, decades.
Caution is always advisable in such situations.
You may be right. But how can we prepare for such a threat truly? The people of this town are relatively happy by all accounts. At least they seemed a few months ago during the Feast of St. Paul.
The temptation of the devil knows no bounds, Judge Butcher. To be so happy now does not mean that the people will always be content. And should they fear for the safety of their souls, they will inevitably seek aid at both of our offices.
So how do you suggest we root out these evil witches? From what you both say of them, they are capable of lighting up the sky with fire and destroying a man's mind while leaving his body intact. Do you suggest that I deputize every man into the guard and arm him that he might strike down anyone he so much suspects as harnessing this power?
It is your duty, Judge Butcher, to punish those who commit earthly crimes, no matter how they are committed. My concerns are with heresy, not witchcraft. I came to your town to warn you of the dangers of the blasphemous supporters of witches, how their evils have upset the citizenry and damaged the church.
And it is part of my job to judge those who use magic to do so.
You are right. I am not entirely convinced that we need fear such feats as you described to me earlier, but I will uphold the law of the land, no matter the means by which it is carried out.
You are truly just and honorable.
Let us work such that no heretic, be they witch or not, brings trouble to this town for many years to come.
What's wrong, my child?
She's a witch. Elizabeth Thornbill is a witch.
The midwife?
Yes, Father. I have witnesses gathered who will say as much in their own words. We suspect that she is also teaching our assistant Jacqueline her dark arts.
That is quite a serious accusation. According to the law, if she is found innocent of the crime of witchcraft, you are to suffer the punishment in her place. Are you prepared for such an outcome?
Yes, my lord. The love I still hold for my beloved wife and child commands that I do whatever I must in order to see that justice is served and that this evil is stopped.
Very well. If you are willing to risk as much, then the midwife and her assistant both must stand trial for their crimes.
I agree. I shall summon the guard to arrest them both for infanticide and witchcraft.
Thank you, my lord.
Come, my child. We have much to discuss.
And I have much to prepare.
It seems that your arrival at this town was at quite the opportune time, my friend. Perhaps you ought to stay and watch this trial. If nothing else, it will prove to be another interesting tale to tell of your travels, though I fear far less amusing than the one about the bird's nest.
Well, I fear I must agree with you, Father, if only to see what heresy there may yet be.
We are gathered here today to try the accused, Elizabeth Thornbill, on the accounts of witchcraft and infanticide. The accuser is one Joe Miller, who claims Elizabeth conducted witchcraft during the childbirth of Joe's son, which ended up causing the death of both the child and Joe's wife, Claire. Will the accuser please come forth and state his case?
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is Joe Miller, and I accuse Elizabeth Thornbill of conducting witchcraft that resulted in the death of my boy, both my child and my wife. She also has caused the death of several other children over the past couple months. The Johnson's baby, the Jones baby were two recent deaths caused by this foul and sinister woman. Heather Smith is here as one of those mothers to attest against Elizabeth, along with Rachel.
And what say you to such accusations, Elizabeth and Mary?
I only did my job. I cared for every one of those lost children. Who are you, Joe Miller, to accuse me of such evil? Did I not deliver both Sean and Paul in good health? Were not Claire and I dear friends? You know I weep for days after her passing. How dare you accuse me of such evil? I do all in my power for those I care for. How dare you?
Very well. Now will the witnesses come forth and give their statements against Elizabeth Thornbill?
My name is Heather Smith, and I am a mother whose baby was taken from me by Elizabeth Thornbill. Elizabeth was my midwife, and I am convinced she performed some sort of magic to not only cause my baby to die in childbirth, but also to poison my husband who has fallen ill. Before she cared for me, she would wash her hands in some water she brought, speak several names which I did not recognize, and finally cross herself while asking me to chew on some foul root. This is certainly not of God.
Bishop Cooper, does the church ordain such a ritual?
There is no such ritual in canon law. Surely the names of these unknown angels are of those who have fallen from God's grace.
Very well. The next witness, please step forward, speak your name, and state your case.
My name is Rachel Allen. I did not know what I was seeing at the time, but in light of these accusations, I now know. Several months ago, while walking home through the forest on my way home from town, I saw Elizabeth Thornbill and Father Burns under the cover of night. Such secrecy is of no godly nature.
Order! Are you claiming that Father Burns is also a part of this alleged witchcraft?
That's preposterous. I am a man of God and would never partake in such actions.
Young lady, what do you have to say to back up these sudden accusations?
One night several weeks ago, I overheard the father talking to Elizabeth in the woods. She was talking to him about the recent number of stillborns she'd been having during her deliveries. The father then started to tell her about an odd ritual that he heard about in the town next over. He told Elizabeth that if she were to wash her hands in holy water before the delivery of each child, then that child would be guaranteed to live. As a Christian, I know this is not any ritual condoned by the church as an acceptable use of holy water. And any rituals not authorized by this church is defined as witchcraft.
This is certainly an egregious testimony. This trial shall be called to a recess while this new matter is investigated. Inquisitor, I am sending you to the church to search the father's room for anything that may be related to witchcraft.
At once.
So, Bishop Cooper, what are your thoughts on the new accusation of Father Burns?
I am shocked that a man of his position and virtue should be accused of such an act. But if what you say is true, I take him to be no more of a Christian than a murderer or a rapist. Brother Thomas Aquinas spoke of how magic comes from demons. It's not of heavenly influence because it's not a naturally occurring force. Father Burns was not blessed with this power from birth, nor was it bestowed upon him. He sought this power.
This was found hidden in Father Burns' cell. What sorcery binds this book?
What blasphemy! Oh my! Surely you deny God through such acts. The rite of communion is denied to each of you for such iniquities.
Can any of you say that you would not have done as I had and sought answers yourselves? Am I so wrong to have suggested such an act? She came to me in tears over all of this and begged for help and for guidance. All that I did was suggest an act that, had it worked, could have saved the lives of innocent children. Is that really so wrong? And so what of this book of mine? Is the Bible not a book as well? I sought answers and I turned to books. I did not mean anyone any harm. I wanted to help people, to protect people.
It is not our duty as imperfect humans to pursue a measure of power other than the power given to us by God himself. You sought power that was not yours to have, and that goes against God regardless of your intention. God is able to do good through evil. You possess neither the wisdom nor the power to do so. God permitted evil to exist in our world, but people like you facilitate its spreading with your actions. Magic comes from demons, and whether you wanted to help or harm people, you were employing the dark arts to do so.
Guards, take them all away. I hereby sentence Elizabeth Thornbill and Father Burns to death by fire for the murder of dozens and the practice of witchcraft.
It's finally over.
The Lord's justice has triumphed once more.
I do hope you both can understand why I could not condemn Mary to death with Elizabeth and Father Burns.
Her excommunication and thus her exile will hopefully give you some measure of peace. I can see that at least one of you has begun to think as much. Tell me what's on your mind, my child.
Someday, I will be beside my beloved Claire again in heaven. Until then, my heart is freed of the burdens of her death, now that justice has been done. Someday, I hope my sons will be able to understand what happened here. I should go to them now. Thank you.
I can only hope this whole witchcraft business is behind us now.
Behind us? Don't you understand? Witchcraft took my child from me. and only the Lord knows how many others have suffered a similar fate. And my husband is still sick. I bet everything I have left that there are more witches in our town, spreading disease to torment good Christians.
You're not satisfied with the Lord's justice?
No, I'm not satisfied with the punishment you sentenced to those heretics. I wish they had suffered as I have, and will, because of their actions. In the end, they knew nothing of pain.
Well, in all honesty, my child, such actions as the one you describe are fairly common in other places, where meting justice upon those who consort with demons. In the end, though, I decided that such tools would not aid us in the greater purpose of this trial. Any torture we could send their bodies through cannot compare to that which they face now in death, forever denied the presence of God.
And with so many victims to midwife Thornbill's crimes, I will admit a certain public necessity to seeing justice done quickly. The revelations about Father Burns, however, were a happy accident.
Such heresy cannot be tolerated. The people must know that these tools of evil will be dealt with properly.
But will we ever be able to rest so long as there's magic in the world?
I do not believe that is something any one of us can know. I am sorry that you and your town has suffered such pain, yet I believe that the Lord and his plan is indeed just and good. I see now that those who use magic are inherently blasphemous and heretics who have turned their backs from God.
Even those like Father Burns who only wish to help people?
Yes.
Okay.
Even Father Burns.
So where are you to now, Inquisitor?
I ride to Rome to see His Holiness the Pope. Maybe in time he will listen to me. And the Inquisition will be expanded to witchcraft as a form of heresy.
We can only hope as much.
Aye.
And so the Lord's work is done in mysterious ways.
Aye.
The Inquisitor's journey to Rome was a pleasant and uneventful affair. Despite his fatigue from travel, he was indeed able to secure an audience with His Holiness the Pope. In 1258, Pope Alexander IV declared witchcraft a form of heresy, expanding the role of the Inquisition. As the months passed, Heather Smith grew even more vigilant for the presence of those who would consort with demons. Years later, with the return of the Inquisitor, she had the full force of the Church behind her search for vengeance. With each witch she and the Inquisitors discovered, her husband slowly recovered, and she was happy to have done so much good for the world. Justice was served, but was it just?